Mike, get online! You see that dude's muzzle flash?
Oh yeah, I see him. What is he shooting at?
I don't know, let's kill him.
All right. From no muzzle devices to muzzle devices to suppressors, the urge of the human race to suppress flash off a gun is for a good reason. Because if you have a lot of flash, you're gonna give away your position, it's gonna potentially blind you at night, and it causes a whole slew of issues. Now, muzzle device technology has come a long way. Today what we're gonna be doing in Grand Thumb is we're going to be using our Phantom high-speed camera to visualize the entirety of the muzzle flash to accurately and once and for all prove what the best flash hider is, or if the flash hider you have on your gun will get you killed. Today in Grand Thumb, which muzzle device suppresses flash the best? Now, we can't go any further without, of course, thanking the biggest sponsor of our channel, who is Primary Arms. If you're looking to buy great optics at a great price, we cannot thank them enough. Go and check them out. They are made somewhere in the snowy mountains out here. We actually don't know where. But a big thank you to Primary Arms. And of course, we cannot forget Henry Repeating Arms, made in America or not made at all. You know what? Sometimes a good old lever action is about all you need. But you know what? Even if it's a little superfluous, it is Americana. It is America, like apple pie and what else? Baseball?
Sure. Yeah, baseball.
Baseball, there you have it. Henry Repeating Arms, give them a follow. A big thank you to them. Of course, great opportunities if you look at the link right below. And of course, you're looking to get better at shooting, we recommend Dry Fire. Mantis will turn your weapon into a dry fire machine. Go and check them out. We absolutely love them. All my Mantis items are stolen. All ammunition is provided for today by AAC. We help them develop up the ammo. We are big fans of it. With all that being said, talk is cheap, and Phantom cameras are what, Sawyer?
They are very expensive. Phantom cameras, yeah, really expensive.
So one thing that's important with our muzzle devices as well that we're not really getting into today is going to be compatibility with suppressors. Obviously, many people nowadays are running suppressors, and we do highly recommend it. Today, we're not focusing on that, on suppressor compatibility and lockup and how well different suppressor mounts work, but understand that there is a further kind of note beyond just the performance of our different muzzle devices that we have right here. That being said, in the future, we will be testing how well different suppressors perform on killing muzzle flash. So let's talk about how we're going to do this test. Obviously, we have the Phantom camera filming at over 76,000 frames a second. This is going to allow you to visualize the entirety of the muzzle flash. This is important because shutter speed, sorry, you can probably talk to this, but shutter speed is going to affect how much of the muzzle flash you're seeing. So a lot of the tests that I've seen haven't been able to show the apex of the blast. Is this check for you, Sawyer?
I mean, it's frame rate. You're thinking more frame rate. When you frame rate, shutter speed, get rid of the motion blur, see every little frame, slow it down. Yeah, you're money.
Thank you, Sawyer. Close enough. So right here we have a Noveske. This has a 10.3 barrel. This is about as short as you want to go with an AR-15. This is going to allow us to have a lot of that powder burn to see which of these is going to perform best. John, do you want to go through some of these right here and talk to them? So we have a lot of different muzzle devices right here, some of the most common and some uncommon ones.
So this commonly ships with a lot of uppers that you'd buy, say, I don't know, BCM, Colt, something like that. So it's an A2 bird cage. It resembles kind of sort of a bird cage. The A2 specifically because the bottom is closed off. This was done to prevent dust from kicking up, stuff like that. And it also gives a little bit of a compensation effect, but primarily it is meant to be a flash hider.
Yeah, so the nice thing about the A2, probably our benchmark that we're gonna go off of. Next up, we have a Deadair muzzle brake. We're gonna show you how intense flash is off of a muzzle brake. From there, we have probably one of the most intense muzzle devices. Probably not one that you're gonna see too much. This is a CAC MAMS. This is very aggressive. Next up, we have HUXWRX. So we have both the normal one that you see on your suppressors. This one is obviously used, and of course, refine it without a suppressor attached. Then we have the other HUXWRX muzzle device that can be seen as well. We're seeing these shipping with a lot of Geissele uppers now, so we wanted to make sure to show it. Next up, we have the CAT suppressor mount. So with CAT kind of being an up-and-coming company in my mind as far as suppressor design, we wanted to show their muzzle device, which is pretty close to just like a closed tine. Now we have 2 3-prongs. We have one from Deadair, we have one from Deadair and one from Rearden. 3 prongs are kind of one of the really good muzzle device options in my mind. It's been realized how well they work. And that gets us into our Surefires. John, if you want to speak to that.
Yeah, so Surefire 4-prong, definitely the sexiest one.
Get out of here.
So the only reason the 4-prong exists because SOCOM wanted specifically a 4-prong. And it's been hotly debated whether the 3-prong performs better than the 4-prong. I mean, honestly, I think this one wins because it looks cooler, but we're going to find out today. The next one, so a Surefire Workout.
Oh, Lord.
This is easily one of the most popular Surefire muzzle devices because it's the whole idea is flash hider, but with a little bit of compensation effect.
We'll see how much that kills the flash hiding effect.
This one I think is pretty important because there's tons of uppers that have these, specifically pin and welded uppers.
Yep.
From here, the Surefire closed tine flash hider, kind of similar to the A2, how the bottom is mostly closed off, but it's meant to, of course, mount Surefire suppressors. So we'll see how that one does.
And finally, probably one of the best flash hiders that we know of on the market, the B.E. Myers 249F. Not really used anymore, but the only problem, kind of the drawback, is like it really can't mount a suppressor. However, that thing kills flash.
Yeah, I think this is going to be the best performing in terms of flash, but that's not everything. You need to mount a suppressor.
Yep. So understand, we don't have every muzzle device you could have out there. However, we do have a lot of basic designs. We have comps, we have 3 prongs, we have A2 styles. So by using all these, we're probably going to see very similar performance between similarly designed muzzle devices, and that's kind of the point. We can always revisit this later. Let's get this test started.
All right, so what we're going to be using today is M855, otherwise commonly known as green tip. As you can see, this does have a green tip painted on it, but it's still the same thing. Top half of the core is a steel penetrator, but particularly with military cartridges, a lot of the, especially the modern stuff, is the propellants have a flash suppressant made into them. It only does so much, but I think this would be a good, accurate representation of...
Everyone's using M193 55 grain, or they're using M855 62 grain.
For a fighting rifle, yeah, absolutely.
So obviously we love our 77, but we wanted to test kind of a middle of the road round. Here we go. Right, first up, we have bare muzzle device to show you how intense muzzle flash can be with no muzzle device. So let's go ahead and let's see what it's like on high speed. Okay, we have our setup. First muzzle test, bare muzzle. Ready, Sawyer?
Yes, sir. All right, in 3, 2, 1.
Now that we've seen at high speed how intense that muzzle flash is, let's see what it's like to fire the weapon. 3 rounds, see how the muzzle control is. John, how do you think it's going to be?
It's going to be harder than it should be.
Okay, here we go. Yeah, it wanted to jump a little bit. That was ridiculous. Like, in my optic, it was just all flame. Okay, let's put a muzzle device on this. All right, we have the tried and true A2. I actually like the A2 quite a bit. How about you, John?
It's fantastic.
It's not bad at all. So let's go ahead. Let's see what the muzzle flash is like on the A2 flash hider. Okay, here we go. A2 muzzle device, high speed. A little bit of concussion, otherwise good. You feeling flash?
No.
Okay, let's go ahead. Let's see what it's like to control it. That feels great, dude. The A2 really is a great muzzle device. Like, it's simple, but the nice thing about it is, like, it's cheap.
Yeah, it comes on almost every upper that you can find, and it performs very well.
And a lot of the newer B&T suppressors actually fit the A2 muzzle devices, like, right off the bat. So that's pretty cool as well.
Yeah, perfect.
The bare muzzle device, as you can see, is absolutely ridiculously bright. There's not a single AR-15 that just has a bare muzzle device that I can think of. John?
No, pointless.
Yeah, don't do it. Put a muzzle device on your gun. Please.
A2s are like $7.
It's like, you can get them for free. Like, the government doesn't want you to know. Just take them off a government gun, and how are they going to know?
Take the whole gun.
Take the... Right here, we have the Deadair brake with chemo. So if you go into an indoor range and you just have a brake and no suppressor, like, everybody hates you. That thing is obnoxious. I don't like brakes that much, personally.
Yeah, if you have one, you should get help.
You should get help. That being said, we're going to go ahead. We're going to see what this looks like on the high speed. Deadair muzzle brake.
God bless.
That was obnoxious. Okay, we have seen it on the high speed. Let's see what this thing looks like as far as controlling recoil. All right, you ready? Okay, that did not move. So a lot of people will put a brake on their gun. They're like, look how good I am at controlling recoil. It's like, yes, but like you're giving away your position. You got muzzle flash, so don't. All right, so we have done the Deadair muzzle brake, and as you can see, the fireball was pretty dang large, smaller barely than the bare muzzle, but you have to understand, yes, muzzle brakes perform extremely well in terms of controlling recoil. However, if you're using just a muzzle brake, not great. Now, muzzle brakes do great with suppressors as far as acting as a type of kind of blast diverter, as a kind of a sacrificial quote-unquote baffle depending on the suppressor design, but on their own, not great, my dude. Unless you're like shooting like high-speed gamer stuff, right?
No, don't use them.
All right, we probably have one of the most expensive muzzle devices here today. That is the HUXWRX. Expensive not because it's amazing, but because it's super rare, like anything Knight's Armament. So it is basically a compensator. Let's go ahead, let's see what it looks like on the high speed. HUXWRX high speed.
It's ma'am in 3, 2, 1. Action.
Ooh. It's loud. Okay, so you're on the high speed. Let's see what it's like controlling the recoil. It's one of my favorite devices because it's so much fun, but God, is it obnoxious. Dude, it does not move.
I'm just getting blasted, right?
It does not move, but God, is that obnoxious. All right, HUXWRX. Super, super cool in terms of looks. Super cool on the high speed, but as you can see, huge muzzle blast. So again, this is a good suppressor mounting option. It does mount the Knight's suppressors, the newer ones. However, on its own, that's a lot of flash right there. Right here, we have the HUXWRX QD flash hider in 5.56. Now, it looks weird because it is made to work specifically with HUXWRX's flow-through design. Let's see how well it works on its own. So if you do not have a suppressor, we'll see. HUXWRX QD. Let's see how it goes.
In 3, 2, 1. Action.
Not terrible. Okay, we've now seen the high speed. Let's see what it's like on its own, controlling recoil. Worse than the A2. It's okay. Yeah. Okay, so as you can see, compared to what we've shot so far, it did pretty good. Now, that's not saying much, we're mostly shooting compensators, but the performance wasn't bad for a muzzle device that is primarily for a suppressor. That being said, it is both long and large, so it should work pretty. I can't do this. It worked pretty good. Let's check the other HUXWRX. Okay, right here we have the HUXWRX muzzle brake QD 5.56. Let's go ahead. Let's test it on the high speed. This is made to be, of course, just like the HUXWRX, the other HUXWRX muzzle device, used with a suppressor. HUXWRX muzzle brake. Let's try it out. Dude, with the connexes and it's like, remember like a guy having a war comp like in the shoot house?
Yeah, you feel it in your teeth.
Yeah, I kind of feel it in my teeth on these. Okay, now that we've shot under high speed, let's check and see how it does just shooting it. That's actually very controllable. And that's some significantly more recoil than the flash hider. Okay, not bad though. All right, HUXWRX muzzle brake. Pretty good performance as far as like recoil control, and in addition, not terrible flash, not what you'd want for sure. You want to try to kill that flash as much as possible, but not terrible, still doing fairly well. CAT, otherwise known as Combat Application Technologies, this is their muzzle device. Now, this is, like the HUXWRX, specifically designed for their suppressor. It is also significantly shorter than their muzzle device, so I imagine we're going to see some okay flash with this. Let's see what it looks like on high speed.
Hold on.
CAT muzzle device, here we go. Significantly easier to handle. Like as far as like concussion.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah. Okay, now that we've seen the high speed, let's see what it's like on its own, controlling recoil. Feels like an A2 actually. Not like terrible, it's kind of not really directional, just kind of straight back into the shoulder. Not too bad. Okay, Cat performed pretty well. I would say pretty similar to the much larger HUXWRX, maybe even a little bit worse, but it is shorter, so I would say the performance of both of these was okay, and they did a pretty good job on their own of controlling recoil. So that's Cat. Let's move on. This is our Deadair 3-prong right here, very similar to the early M16 3-prongs. So this is, of course, a muzzle device specific for their suppressors. So let's see how it performs. Deadair 3-prong. Not terrible. As far as concussion.
Not pleasant, but yeah, definitely a lot better than the
Not
Brave.
pleasant. Now that we've seen it at high speed, let's see what it looks like for controlling recoil. This should be straight back into the shoulder. Oh, that ring, do you hear it? Hate that. It's okay. It's not great, but kind of surprising because the Surefire 3-prong is great. Okay, it did fairly well. It's actually pretty hard to find the muzzle blast for such a short 3-prong. Good performance. Now, we're not going to do a whole thing on the Reardon 3-prong. They are very similar. The difference being that this does kill ring a lot better. That being said, let's see what a Reardon looks like under high speed to see how similar they are. Reardon 3-prong in comparison. Felt the same.
Yeah.
To the Deadair.
Exactly the same.
Right, our Reardon actually performed, I would say, a little bit better, but it's really close, and there's some things that come into play, but I would say about the same performance. That being said, we love the Reardon, guys. All right, we got a Surefire 4-prong, a workhorse of the SOCOM community within Special Operations. Ours is upside down on a 4-prong. Doesn't matter how you time it, really, so it's not that big of a deal. Let's go ahead and see what the flash suppression looks like. Now, the great thing about the 4-prong and the 3-prong in my mind is how good of a suppressor host they are. The Surefire SOCOM suppressors are literally just indestructible suppressors. So that's why they are used so much, because Surefire suppressors are just so ubiquitous. John, how many Surefire suppressors are out there?
Tens of hundreds of thousands, maybe.
Thank you, John, for your contribution. All right, Surefire 4-prong, high speed. Felt like a 4-prong. Nope. Not terrible, not great. Okay, now that we've seen that, let's go ahead. Let's try out recoil control. Should be straight back into the shoulder. Yeah, classic 4-prong. So, 4-prong, pretty simple, just pushes it right back in your shoulder. All right, we have the 4-prong that just fired. Now, what I think is interesting is it wasn't like a dramatic improvement over the shorter 3-prongs that we showed, but it was good, and there was a definite improvement there. You know, despite the fact that this is a good bit longer, it wasn't that exact amount of length that you saw translated into performance. Now, John does have some autistic detail for us, so stand by for one moment.
All right, so up next, we have the Surefire 3-prong. So fantastic muzzle device. There's been a lot of debate over the years on whether or not the 4-prong performs better than the, at the time, commercially available 3-prong. Surefire didn't sell these for the longest, so we're gonna find out now, does this actually perform better? Right out of the gate, I would say the tines are definitely stronger because they're, of course, beefier, but does it actually suppress flash better?
Right here, we have the Surefire 3-prong. Very familiar, have done a ton of rounds on the 3-prong. Now, on the 3-prong, you do wanna make sure it's timed correctly, because once in the correct orientation, that bottom prong will prevent all that gas from hitting the ground and dirt and kicking it up. So, let's go ahead and let's check it on the high speed. Does it do better than the 4-prong? Legendary showdown. 3-prong versus 4-prong to the death. Surefire 3-prong. Here we go. Felt like a 3-prong.
No change.
Just like the 4-prong. Okay, let's go ahead and let's see what it looks like for recoil control. It feels exactly like the 4-prong. Literally no difference. Surefire 3-prong versus Surefire 4-prong. I would say for all intents and purposes, very, very similar. It looked like the 3-prong had barely a little bit less, but I would say that they're about the same. John, would
No, I don't care what you saw. Don't listen to 3-prong propaganda. 4-prong wins every time.
Okay, guys, The same.
All right, so up next, we're going to test the Surefire War Comp. As you can see, the difference is it has ports that you can time, neutral or normal for a right-handed shooter.
Or left-handed.
Yeah, or left-handed. If you'll notice the lack of labyrinth seals, that's what these are called. The War Comp is a good muzzle device, but it's a terrible suppressed muzzle device. It can accommodate a Surefire suppressor, but it's really not optimal.
I'd say Pew Science has done a really good job in showing that the War Comp does a worse job with suppressors compared to just a traditional 3 or 4 prong.
Absolutely, but if it's a dedicated unsuppressed build, I would pick the War Comp.
Okay, recoil control with the War Comp. We're time neutral on this one. That is very easy to handle. Yep, significantly better than the 3 and 4 prong. That's not significant, but you can definitely feel the ports working. If we had timed it right hand, it'd be even more so. We just wanted to time it neutral for the purposes of the slow-mo camera and capturing flash. Surefire War Comp. I am so interested to see how this does.
It'll do great.
Okay, let's find out. You know, it can cuss.
A little bit more than 3 prong, still not bad.
Not that bad. Surefire War Comp, surprisingly good performance on flash. That surprised me. So what we'll say about it is not the best for a suppressor. If you're going to be running a suppressor, don't recommend the War Comp. If not, I suppose it's actually not that bad. It does control better than the 3 prong, and the flash signature really wasn't all that bad. John's autism has taken over. He would like to talk about the Surefire close time.
All right, so Surefire close time, it's a flash hider at heart. It's a fantastic muzzle device. Fun fact, this was actually developed specifically at the request of CAG. They wanted, for some reason, a closed-ended muzzle device. I really like this for 2 reasons. One, it kind of has a little bit of a compensation effect because this bottom is closed off, so it wants to, yeah, like a giant A2, it wants to drive it down a little bit. Another thing is this is also the lightest, or at least one of the lightest Surefire muzzle devices. So when you're stacking a suppressor at the end of your gun and it makes it very front heavy, I've noticed that it is noticeably lighter.
You run a close time, don't you?
Yeah, I use a close time. This versus a 3 prong, it is a little bit more.
If I ran a 4 prong.
Yeah, then I'd be cooler.
All right, let's go ahead and see how it performs on the high speed. All right, Surefire close time. So interested to see how it does. The Surefires tickle me. My autism. Okay, ready. A little bit more concussion compared to the 3 and 4 prong, but a little bit less than the War Comp. Right, we've seen it on the high speed. Let's go ahead and see what it's like as far as recoil control. That feels really good, actually. Feels really good. It does feel kind of similar to the War Comp in terms of kind of compensation effect due to those bottom ports. So I do like it quite a bit. Close time goated. All right, all of John's personality was hinging on this close time, and it did really well, actually. So barely more flash than the 3 and 4 prong. Very comparable, though, and especially being significantly lighter and shorter. I would say that's a definite win for the close time. So this is a device, so far in my mind is winning, is kind of pulling out front. We have the legendary B.E. Myers 249F, not specifically really made anymore, but very cool. You can see they have little serrations on the inside of the tines to reduce ring as well as to help with flow of the flash. So this one's supposed to be fairly legendary. Let's see how it actually works. B.E. Myers 249F. The legend put to the test. Felt a little less than a 3 prong, probably the most pleasant so far. B.E. Myers 249F, excellent performance. Definitely the best performer in terms of flash suppression. Now, that being said, it's a little bit limited in what it could do due to suppressor mounting. However, it does definitely kill flash the best. So that brings us to the end. So first thing we're gonna do before we talk about everything, we're gonna play every single slow motion back to back. Now that you've seen everything, question that we have. Which one do you think did best? Now, John, I know you had a couple thoughts that you wanted to kind of put forward.
Yeah, I'd say if you're, concerned citizen, you're just now getting into guns, and you buy your first AR, and it comes with the A2, don't feel like it's inadequate just because it was, basically free with the rifle. These are mass-produced for a reason. As you can see, it's, very inexpensive and very, very effective.
I use A2s, and I use like the NT4 mounting system from CAC, which is literally just an A2. So it is a very effective muzzle device. Now that being said, for me, of all the ones that I fired, my two favorites are definitely the close time, just due to how well it worked, and then the CAC MAMs, just because I just love it. I think it looks cool. I know it's not very effective, but it looks cool. John, what was your favorite?
Of course, close time is what I run. 4-prong supremacy, and the good old A2.
A2 really does do so well. So guys, thank you so much for watching. We'll be doing probably more muzzle device tests. We'll be doing more suppressor-specific tests on Flash, and tons more things because, well, we have autism and we have a phantom camera. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Here's the thing. Train with whatever you have. You have an A2 on a 10-3. Train. I'll be terrified of you if you are training. Final dad advice for you guys. Time is your most precious resource. Make sure that you are spending it wisely.